we are doing the worst movies of 2022. It is a very long list. I mean, not very, but compared to the best, it is longer, as always. There's a lot of horror in it, of course, because what's the main thing I watch? And there's 7 categories, and there's about 5 movies per category, because goddamn. I guess I should explain my rating system again, because if you didn't watch the best of. So how I rate it is that I have my Letterbox account. Letterbox does half star to 5 star. Anything half star to 1.5 star is in the worst category. Anything from 4 star and up to 5 is best of. That's how I do it. Blah blah blah. Anyway, so first category. First category is rom-coms, and we could tell what month I viewed all of these in.
Okay.
I love the concern on your face. You're already scared to hear this.
Mm-hmm.
So the first is Fall for Christmas. Then there's Christmas Karen. Then the Christmas Tree. Then Amityville Christmas Vacation. And then Christmas at the Holly Hotel. Now, mind you, the Killing Tree and the Amityville one, they're technically not rom-coms, and they're just like Christmas horror movies, but I'm throwing them in there anyway, just because I watched all of these during my December rom-com thing, so fuck it. Yeah, so Fall for Christmas, that's the Lindsay Lohan movie that I got invited to the screening for, that we lucked out and didn't go to, because you could imagine what it would have been like for me and yourself the entire time we were at that screening.
What do you mean by lucky? We choose not to go. It's not like they just like throw a cage down and be like, guess what you're doing tonight?
I mean, yes, but like, I like, I like that the other people were like, "Oh, you can't go." They're like, "Lindsay's gonna be there." I was like, "Oh, I'm busy. I have to work late and blah 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 blah." No, I was by the time the screening had started, I was home. Like I had time, but I wasn't gonna, because I don't want to sit through that in a quiet theater around people who won't understand why I'm in pain. Granted, yes, it's not a good movie. It was very like self-aware that it is a generic, super tropey, Christmas rom-com, and it's like Lindsay Lohan's back, which is great. It's great. You know what I mean? Lindsay, come back, all that stuff. But again, it's still not good. It's still not good. With all these like, good, it's still not good. Then it was Christmas Karen, which is pretty much a Christmas Carol, but again, Karen, and she sees the ghosts of Christmas past, future, present, all that shit, and it just shows her all her Karenisms, and how she should better herself. And in the end, she like kind of changes, but like in a very white woman kind of way of like, here you go, I'm helping you out. I love your people, and it's like, go, yeah. Okay, there is a change. Oh fuck, there's a lot of work to be done. I have to say, the woman who was playing the Karen, she did very well, because she reminded me of a lot of people I faced during the retail days. Her wig was very apparent. But so
Mm-hmm.
were a lot of people's wigs. Obviously it's a very low budget movie and all that stuff, and it takes place in Florida, so they don't have to be like Christmas snow, that kind of stuff. It's like, all right.
Oh, what a good way to handle that, so you can shoot anywhere.
Right. It's like when movies are like, it's Christmas time, but they're like, it's in California or Texas or somewhere where, like, we ain't gonna get snow, so we don't have to, like, either add snow or shoot it when it's cold. It's like, nope. What an easy way. Anyway, so the next one is The Killing Tree, which is Christmas horror kind of bullshit. And it's like, it's so stupid. This guy who like wants to kill people, he ends up dead, and then his lady brings him back to life, but something went wrong with the spell, so he becomes a Christmas tree, and then goes and like, kills people that he was trying to kill before. That I realized after I said that sounds a lot better of a movie than what actually happened. No. The movie is really bad. and like horrible CGI and like an insanely large house. Oh, also this movie is British. I didn't know that because this seems like a very like American kind of thing. And then people started talking, and I was like, oh,
Wait, question.
yes.
Question for the CGI. Worse or better than Birdemic 1?
Um,
Now you got to remember those birds.
I know. Okay, it's not in the level of those birds. It's better, but at times how some things are animated, and I use that term loosely, it's like in that one Neil Breen movie where he like jumps from the balcony and how he just kind of goes zoop. It kind of does that kind of animation, again using that term loosely of what animation is. Yeah, like that kind of thing where you're just like, okay, that's, oh my god, there's one part where like a thing is like flying at a character, like the camera is the POV, like the camera is the POV of the item's in front, and it flies at a character to be like, here's like pretty much like a ninja star flying at them, and there's a string, like you see the string holding the thing that's flying at the person.
Okay.
Like even when I was streaming it, I pause and you just see like whoop, you know? Yeah. Like you saw it without me pausing, and then when I paused it, it was like, well, yeah. It's like, no. It's like some rich girl who inherited this huge ass house, and like the tree is like coming back to like kill everyone at the party because I think her parents like he tried to break into the house before to rob the place, and then she was the witness, and it sent him off to jail, and then he died and all that stuff. So now it's like his revenge and all that shit. But also like the movie doesn't like the movie is like, oh, like it's a party, and it's like the main character and the friend, and you're like, okay, you two people could be a party, that's fine. And then you go downstairs and there's like these like older people, like probably family friends kind of stuff, kind of friends, sorry, friends of the parents kind of thing. They're like, we're gonna leave. We're like, okay, I guess there was a party. Then you turn into like this room, and it's like nothing but young people. It's like, what were those like old ass people? Where were they? Because it's and like I remember like while I was watching it on stream, I think I said something along the lines of like, well, I guess this house is so fucking huge, like every room there'd be people in it, you wouldn't know. But like this movie didn't establish, like they verbally said there's a party, but you couldn't sense a party. And then at one point, like this movie wasn't even a whole fucking like full length. It's like a little over an hour, and that's with credits. And like the scenes just kept dragging on because there's one scene where these like two lesbians are in a separate room, and they're having like a couples quarrel of like, I'm a lipstick lesbian, and I'm also I can't even say it right, a lipstick lesbian, and we are both not actually lesbians, and this looks like how porn starts, and we're talking about how we should love each other and whatever stuff, completely derailing the movie within the first fucking 10 minutes. And I'm like, what is going on here? And then all of a sudden, like, they end up joining everyone else in the room. And I'm like, what the fuck does this have to do with anything? Did you need to just establish that there's lesbians at the party? Because, like, what if something happens? Like, I mean, I watched it on stream, so obviously there wasn't any, like, fucking or anything. The only thing close to that was, like, I don't know, some girl was like in a thong bikini, kind of thing. And even then, I'm just like, whatever. Um, like it.
Remember in the
Uh
remember in the room how like the mom just said at one point, "Well, I have
huh.
cancer."
I. Yes. Anyway, my results came back, and it's definitely breast cancer. And then it's never touched upon after that. She doesn't suddenly die. They don't say at the end. You're like, oh no, Tommy's dead. Oh, Johnny, sorry, his character name. Johnny's dead, just like my mother, or something. Nothing. It's just never touched upon ever again, and that is why it's one of the best movies in the world. Yes, the next movie. Yeah, so Amityville Christmas Vacation is so fucking horrible. There was literally a point when I was streaming it, and the main character, who is also like obviously the writer, director, creator, one of those people, his own Neil Breenish kind of thing, was just Shia LaBeoufing some lines, like just kind of, I mean, doing that whole thing to the point where like I straight up in stream just said, "Shut the fuck up!" Like, I don't really do that very often when I'm watching a movie, because no matter how annoying dialogue could be, or whatever stuff, I'll just go like, "Oh my god, no." I straight up just started yelling at the movie. Like, it was just so bad that I was straight up screaming at the movie. It's horrible. Like, they're just obviously using the name Amityville because of the actual place and the actual horror thing, and saying, "Oh, Christmas Vacation," and being all like, "Oh, I want a trip to, Amityville or Christmas, but I didn't." And they were also trying to be like that kind of funny. They're like, "Hey, I want a trip, but I don't remember, entering into any contest, and somehow I got this letter that has my name and address and my phone number." Like, that's actual dialogue in the movie. And the guy was speaking to his cat during that, because obviously, why would he have, like, someone in his life or something. And, like, a lot of the footage looked like it was shot on a phone. Like, a lot of the footage that was, like, in the main character's house looked like he just, like, propped up his phone, because it was always that, like the composition of shots were very weird. It's like, you like, where did you, like, you gotta lean it against like a bookshelf, and here, you know what I mean? It's like at the weirdest angles. And then also, so many times in this movie, people look directly at the camera, like, but not in a breaking the fourth wall kind of office thing, like, not like a, what's his name, Jim, where he like looks at the camera when something happens. No, but like, they'll do something and then they'll look at the camera as if to like make sure that they're like not past their mark or something. And it's like, shouldn't, like, filmmaking, there's a thing called blocking, and you do that. There's rehearsals, there's blocking, there's a point you have to hit, if you even know what that is, stupid filmmakers. Um, you hit it, so then you don't have to worry about, like, "Oh, damn, I did this thing, I wasn't in the shot." But it's like, again, they set up a phone, and then, like, they do something, they'll, like, go into camera and then look directly at camera, like, instead of just, like, playing out a scene. And it's like, oh my god, that happens, like, so often. Initially, it was just the main character guy, and I was kind of like, well, maybe because he is, like, the main character, and he's the director, writer, producer, he's his own Neil Breen kind of shit. But then towards the end, another character did it too, and I was like, stop. And it was like, oh, it was so stupid. It was like, there's a ghost in this house, and somehow I made her like my friend, and da da da, and like, and now she's like, who was it, like, and now she's not a ghost anymore, and we're besties. It's like, so, oh my god, it was so fucking painful to sit through. And I guess, like, either I'm not a funny person, or I just don't have that, like, later year Family Guy sense of humor or something. But, like, there were so many, like, reviews I saw where people are like, "Oh man, he did it again, this one's even funnier than the last one." And I'm like, if this is comedy, then I'm just gonna go die. Like, like, it's like, fuck whatever, Edgar Wright does. You know what I mean? Like, oh, what's satire? I don't know, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my god, it was so bad. I was just screaming at the goddamn movie. I think I was even like apologizing on stream. And I watch a lot of shit in general. And then I watch a lot of shit on stream. This was the first time I've ever apologized while on stream for putting the movie on. I was like, "I'm sorry, guys." I was like, "We can't turn this off. We're gonna have to sit through this. We're already here. I'm not turning this off, because then we're gonna put on something." I'm like, I was like, "I am so sorry that I've chosen this horrible thing to watch." Like, that's how bad it was that I apologize for it. You know what I mean? And then I've had to watch the next movie, which is even worse. It's called Christmas at the Holly Hotel. And that movie, funny enough, speaking of Family Guy, remember the Family Guy joke where Peter went to go see a movie called Autumn's Piano, and like, it's like he's like crying and all that stuff, because he was like, she had a choice between her piano and insulin, and she chose her piano. She could have had both. You remember that?
It doesn't matter if I've seen it. That's what it was.
Yeah. But anyway, so this movie was literally that thing of like, you're given two choices and you chose the dumb one where literally you could have had both. Now, this movie is about a woman from a small town who works in the big city, of course, New York. And then she comes home to her small town because it's Christmas time. Her parents are the owners and operators of the Holly Hotel, which apparently is actually a real place. Um, so I learned that while after watching the movie. But anyway, that aside, not shitting on the real place, we're talking about the movie. Um, her parents own and operate it. She is, I think, 30 years old because they kept having to remind us in the movie several times that she is 30. In a sense of like, I'm 30. In a way that you would also say that I'm 95 years old, you know? In a very like condescending, like, Mom, Dad, I'm 30. I can't do that anymore. It's like, what do you, me? What do you got, like horrible chronic pain and you just like can't, like, no, I can't go to the gym because I'm 30. Like, what is wrong? Like, anyway, that is another thing. But so she gets there, and then when she first arrives, mind you, she arrives oddly enough on Turkish Air because that was what the stock footage told us. It was a stock footage of a plane landing, and it said Turkish Air, so I was screaming, laughing at that. And then she's in a rental car driving to her parents' place. She's going like 50 or something in residential, so you know. A cop pulls her over, and no joke, the cop, who is obviously the love interest in this movie, she turns to the cop and is like, "Sorry, officer, did I do something?" Turns to him, and no joke, you hear bling when she looks at him and smiles because apparently he is just so fucking handsome.
Brown hair.
Kind of, yeah, kind of like a dirty blonde, ash kind of hair, tall white guy.
A pile of ash. Okay.
Yes. And he's just the most boring guy. At one point in the movie, I screamed at him and said, "Why are you being so fucking needy?" Because, like, this movie, like, the dude tries to kiss her like 3 to 4 times. And at one point, like, the dad interrupts and is like, "Come on." And he's like, "Oh, come on." Like, he literally is like, "Ah," like, he wants to kiss her. And I was like, "Why are you being so fucking needy?" Like, the dad's even like, "Come on, this is important. You could kiss her some other time." And mind you, the timeline of this movie is like fucking Romeo and Juliet. It is literally like a week. No, not even a week. It's like 3 to 4 days they've known each other because she flies in Christmas Eve, you know, the 23rd. And then it goes to like Christmas Day and I think the Boxing Day. And then that's it. And so, oh, also she's like, she writes an article. Oh, she's a food critic for the magazine. What magazine? I don't fucking know because that's what the movie says. That she writes for the magazine and she wants to get into the Times. Are we talking about the New York Times? We're talking about the Financial Times. Or are we talking about, was it the Epoch Times or whatever? Who knows? I'm gonna think about the worst one. Maybe she'll do Financial Times, get her shit printed on that pink ass paper, you know? But it's the Times. So, of course, like fucking Christmas Day, you know, I get New York, you know, we never, you know, take a day off, but that's an office job. You're taking a day off, especially if you're doing food critic stuff. This isn't about like the war in Ukraine, you know what I mean? Like, you don't need to be, you know, writing articles on Christmas Day. Get a call on Christmas Day being like, literally like, opportunity is calling you, and she gets the job of her lifetime. And they're like, "Hey, on Christmas Day, we know that you're home right now, with your parents. We're gonna need you to fly back to New York. My assistant is booking your flight right now so you can write this restaurant opening because apparently you want to open your restaurant on Christmas Day when everyone's fucking at home, you know." And then she's sitting there, she's literally like contemplating whether she should go back to New York to pursue the job that she's been wanting to pursue or stay in the fucking small town with the guy that she literally met a couple days ago who's a fucking cop, you know? And like, there's no sense of being a responsible adult. As much as she's like, "I'm 30, I'm 30." And I said, I was screaming this, I didn't say it. I screamed this during my um stream about how like she could be a fucking adult and say to the guy, "Hey, I got feelings for you. I think something might be cool with us, but I got literally the like opportunity of a lifetime with a job. I'll be right back. I gotta fly back to New York for this thing, but when I come back, let's try to make this work." and da-da-da. And like, I even talked about this again on my stream where I was like, okay, and I jokingly said, he's a cop in a small town. Hey, he could transfer to New York City because, you know, we apparently need more police in the city because there's not fucking enough. So, you know, add another one to the fucking list of the tiny army of, you know, cops that we have in the fucking city. I'm like, or, you know, like, he can live there and then she can live there. And because it's so close, because it's from, what was it? I forgot where, it's in Michigan. It's like, what, like a 2-hour plus flight? I'm like, you guys can have long distance because, again, you're a grown adult. You can fly, do that, and then on the weekends, literally fly back to see the guy. Or he can fly and see you. Look at that, you know? But she's literally, like, thinking, do I dump this job that I've been wanting to have just for this cop in this small town? And it's literally the Autumn's piano thing. Like, she literally could have both. She can have the fucking job in New York City that she writes for the Times and bees, wow, my English is out, were, a food critic for the Times, and have her guy, who was the only guy that's around her age in that town anyway, because everyone's fucking old or a ghost. Yeah, there's ghosts in the movie too, because it's Christmas time. Anyway, but instead she's like, and guess what? At the end of the movie, she skips out on the job!
So do they just live in shitty Michigan? Like, it sounds like a... Not that I've ever been to Michigan. Michigan might be lovely. Why is it always the guy from the small town that looks the best? Because I'm from California, but I'm from a small town in California, technically.
Mm-hmm.
That is not where you go. What's there? What's there? Even if you find a guy in, I'm just gonna use my city. Even if you find a guy in Pinole, that's the 50-cent version of the $5 man you could find anywhere else. What are you doing?
I thought you were saying that guy was 50 Cent. I was like, well, that's not that bad. Oh, that's what... It took me a second. No, I was thinking about rappers, and I was like, oh, wait, okay. Yes, sorry. All right, so the next category is sequels. We have Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the second Orphan movie, and Terrifier 2. God! Okay, so I'm just screaming because they were just so bad. So, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's the one that came out in, was it January, February, whatever it was, last year on Netflix. And it was just like the Texas Chainsaw, like, movies, like, the first one was great. The second one, it was definitely very different. It was also a different actor to play Leatherface, but, you know, I mean, it's kind of like a night and day kind of thing. So I'm like, all right. And then everything after that is like, and then when they did to, like, the remake, sequel, remake, reboot, started doing that in, like, the was it like 2005, 3, whatever, and then the 2010 ones, it was like, and then this one was like, it's also its own, like, it's like trying to be, it's trying to be like a sequel to the first one, because then it's like the final girl from the first one is there to try to kill Leatherface, because she's like kind of like trying to do like a Halloween kind of thing, where it's like final girl killing the killer finally kind of thing. You heard me. That's exactly. But this was done like so poorly, because it's like this movie was definitely like, what's the best way of putting it? Like, one, the movie thought it was smarter than what it was, and two, I felt that I was being like woke scolded by the fucking movie, you know? So obviously it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, takes place in Texas. There's people who are from Texas, like, so they're from Austin, which is the more, like, kind of, like, progressive part of Texas, but still, you're still Texas, you're still in that state. They get all the way to this part of Texas, which is very Texas, and they see, like, a Confederate flag, and they're like, oh no! And I'm like, it's Texas, bitch! I'm surprised you didn't see the Klan, you know what I mean? Like, you see a Confederate flag and you're like shaking your boots, like, Jesus Christ, why? Because you got a black person in your group, like, oh, ha, bro, we're different, you know, like, Jesus, they were doing that, where it's like, we got a black guy, and there's a Confederate flag, we gotta point out that, you know, racism is bad. It's like, yes, it's bad, like, that's just not how you address it, especially in horror movies, you know? And then like, oh my god, and of course like the group of people who are, none of them were redeemable, they're also fucking annoying. They drove a Tesla, and it's like, dude, it's Texas. Outside of Austin, where are you gonna find a charging station? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
where we're at, well, one, we're in the tri-state area, so there's fuck ton of people. Two, there's charging stations popping up like everywhere, you know? So obviously we're not talking about us, but like in Texas, come on, man. Like the guy who played Leatherface, he was fine, but like they didn't give him much to do, but to just kind of like be there, you know what I mean? And at one point, so also, so it's like this kind of rinky dinky old town that was obviously a set. I don't look like an old western kind of thing. It was really dumb looking. And then there was like a bus that they're like celebrating to, like, it was like all these, okay, let me back up a little. So it's like all these like young trust fund motherfuckers coming in to like pretty much gentrify this little small little town, this, you know, western set. And they're all partying inside this bus that looks like a bus from like the 1950s, which felt a little weird, you know, because earlier they were talking about like racism, and then it's like here we have like a, looks like a red line bus. You know what I mean? Like my brain was going to too many places at once during this movie because I'm just trying to watch a horror film. I'm just trying to watch dumb people die, and why am I having to think about this, you know? And they're in the thing, they're in the bus, right? All these people are in the bus, and at one point Leatherface gets on the bus, and then this is the like, this was in the trailer, and I went, oh, this is gonna be something to sit through. Leatherface is there. Obviously, he's covered in blood. He's got his chainsaw. Of course, everyone pulls out their phones because we're in this day and age, right? And one dude is like streaming it like live on Facebook or Instagram or something, and he says, "Hey man, you better watch out what you're gonna do, or you're gonna get canceled." Like, they showed that quick part in the trailer, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna suck to sit through," and it was. It was horrible. Pretty much, like, everyone died in the movie, and the only person who didn't die in the group was like the only actress that you like actually know from other things. You know how like, you can kind of predict that.
Yeah.
And like everyone else died, which was fine because like, literally, except for the one actress that you knew from other stuff, everyone else, they were, one, not the best at acting, and two, their characters were just shit. So like they died, and you're like, that's great, you died. You know what I mean? Um, and like the movie, you know, you felt bad for Leatherface, which kind of does, like, you kind of do feel like that with the series because um you know, he doesn't really speak, so he does seem like to be wow, I can't even speak. He does seem like to be like, wow, okay, I'm the one with the mental, you know, regression happening here too. But yeah, he seems to have like a developmental, you know, issue, and of course his family are like cannibals and stuff, so, and he's like a big brute, so they kind of like, you know, use the big dumb kind of thing, so it's like, all right.
Mhm.
But Jesus Christ, fuck that movie, you know. Like,
It's
God.
just his culture to eat people. You need to be more accepting.
Right, right. The next one is like the prequel to the Orphan. Did you ever watch the original Orphan?
No, I did not.
Okay, so I guess spoiler alert, but it's whatever. So it's about like this, you know, little girl who gets adopted and all that stuff, and the little girl starts like, you know, the parents are like observing like weird kind of like things that she does, or like she'll say some things, and you know, anyway, so she also starts like, because it's a horror film, she starts like, you know, kind of, what's the word, like fucking things up. Anyway, spoiler alert, blah blah blah. At the end of the movie, it turns out that she's not a little girl. She's actually a grown woman who just has like, you know, kind of like dwarfism kind of thing, where she just appears to look like a child, and she's just like killed other people, kind
I
of.
think I've actually seen the beginning of this. They're like adopters, just like she's a special troubled child, and they're like, we're going to take her, even though they already had a child. And she
Yes.
like watches them have. She like the little girl, little woman apparently watches them have sex.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I was just like, nope, and then I checked out.
Yeah, because in that scene, like the next scene or something, when the mom like goes up to her and she's like, "Oh, hey, you know, like what you saw," you know, because she thought she was little, thinking like, "Oh, what you saw, you know, the whole like when mommies and daddies," and she turns her, she goes like, "You were fucking," and she's like, "What the fuck," you know? She's like, that kind of stuff. I mean, that scene did make me laugh, just the way how she just looked at her and said, "So you were fucking." Anyway, so this is a prequel of it, and the actress is obviously older, so she's no longer like a little girl; she's a grown woman. And so the movie does a lot of like kind of Lord of the Rings kind of tricks, where they'll have like a small child or a small person play them in like the wide
Mm-hmm.
shot, but like obviously like up close, you're like, this actress is probably just like on her knees, you know what I mean, just like kneeling down to be short. And then I think I looked at the actress's like Instagram. It's like also the parents were wearing like platforms, so just so they can also appear taller than her. um
Mm-hmm.
so the prequel explains how she went from like the mental institution from not Latvia, somewhere Eastern Europe, because she has like the accent. How, like pretty much like the thing of like, oh, how she got adopted in the first place, how she got to America, kind of stuff. And then pretty much her same MO, which is like she ends up always wanting to get with like the dad, because that's how she was trying to hit on the dad in the first one too. And obviously it's weird because it's like, hey, it's a little girl anyway. Ugh. And it's just really dumb. And then the movie had like the like, it was like kind of blurry filter. Like I was just like, I can't see shit that's happening, you know? Like at
Mm-hmm.
first I was like, how did I purchase, how did I rent a bootleg copy? You know what I mean? I was like, what is this? You know? And it's like the joke of like, you know, Drag Race season 1 where I had that blur filter. It's like this Diane Sawyer kind of filter happening. Everything had a weird like pink tinge. I don't know. It was just like dumb. Um, yeah, it just wasn't good. And the next one is Terrifier. I mean, you've heard me complain about Terrifier because they're fans being grossed out by what I make, but their movie is full of just ripping people apart. Like it's the one, you know, with the clown thing and all that stuff. And like I didn't
Mm-hmm.
really like the first one either, because again, it's like, because with these movies, like there's no real plot. Like there is a somewhat of a plot, like a very thin, like, hey, a gesture of what we want this, like what the idea of the story is. And then it's just the clown terrorizing everything, you know what I mean? And then like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, on one hand it's kind of like just like any kind of like horror film like this, where there's like the bad and they're going around and killing people. Yeah, I like seeing Michael Myers kill a bunch of dumb people. I love seeing Jason Voorhees kill a bunch of dumb people. I like Leatherface, you know, chainsawing a bunch of people. But with the Art the Clown thing, like it's not interesting enough, because yes, he's a clown, there's that creep factor of a clown, but like you never feel like there's a threat with him. Like yes, there's a threat because he just kills you. But it's never like, oh my god, it's like no one's ever like, oh my god, ah, it's the clown, kind of like how everyone's like, oh shit, it's Michael, you know, like it's never that, oh shit. It's more of like, what the fuck is this? Who the fuck are you? And then they just immediately get like, they start to get like ripped apart. So there's not even that like initial stab and then it just stab, stab, stab. It's just like this person is being like filleted. So there's like a scene in this movie where like a woman is literally being ripped apart. Like and it kind of on one hand, like because the scene goes on for so long, it does get kind of uncomfortable because they are literally ripping a woman apart, you know. The effects are pretty decent, but like but there's like a part where I'm like, okay, this is just really dumb. Plus, the actress who was like screaming had the same level of screaming from being stabbed as she was being filleted. So she was like, ah, 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 throughout everything. So it's all like a, ah, ah, ah. There was no like variation to her screams, which also made that scene annoying because she literally just sounded like a car alarm. Ha, 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 ha. Like just, there's no variation. Not even a boop, beep. Not even with that, with a car alarm. You know what I mean? She was just kind of like, ah, ah, you know, and then he's just ripping her apart. Why? I don't know. Just because he like, he ended up just like coming into like her bedroom through her window and then just killed her. You know what I mean? Like that's also another thing. It's like there's no motive, whereas like the all these other killers in these kind of movies, there's more of a motive. Like Michael Myers does not like people, and especially if they're like a threat towards him, he's gonna kill you. So you see in the movies, he's going around kill, 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 kill kind of stuff. All right, Jason Voorhees, you fuck on his camp, you know, revenge, slice, 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 slice. You know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre again with Leatherface. He's like, his family are cannibals. They need the meat. You know, that kind of stuff. There's more of like, again, when there's a wielder, like even with like Freddy Cougar's like kind of gross ass. It's like you're in my dream world, and he's like torturing you and tormenting you, and he's got those snide remarks and all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Whereas with this clown, because he's like a silent kind of miming clown, he doesn't say anything. He's just there, like he was just like there at the Halloween store, just being kind of obnoxious, like ha ha, ha, like ha ha ha, ha, with like the horn, and then all of a sudden it's like I stabbed you, and then I ripped your head off, and it's like okay, you know what I mean? Like, and again, the effects were great, but it's just like okay, you know what I mean? Like it's like, and then I've seen some shit in my life, and even I was just like, all right, I'm just like, you know, and there's some people who are like, yo, I love this movie. Again, I told you when I did that horror con, and those people were in like head to toe fucking Terrifier drip. They come over to my table, see a severed heart, and they see fetuses, and they're like, oh, that's so gross. I'm like, you watched a movie where a woman is literally being brutalized for like 15 minutes, and you're like, yeah, whatever. But then again, a lot of these were dudes, and they don't really see women as people, so like, why would
Yeah.
they care? But like,
The
yeah.
real enemy is pro-choice. Remember that.
Yeah, a woman with her own thoughts and feelings. Fuck that. You're just a fuckhole. Like, oh my god.
That's the closest I'll get to a woman. The
Yeah.
plastic tube I made out of tape and mayonnaise.
Oh! 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 Oh, my tummy hurts again. Oh god, I'm dying. Oh! Oh! Wow! Oh! Oh my god! Oh my god! Whew, whew, oh, whew, oh god! Oh, the baby's coming! Like, Jesus! Oh! Brr. Oh god, I really need a minute right now. Oh my god. Alright, so the next category is comics. We got 2 movies, Morbius and Black Adam. Did you see either of those?
No, I am morbidly curious about Morbius.
Well, it's on Netflix.
I I will, but at the same time, I've also like had anything else to do.
I gotta get a root canal without anesthetic, you know? Like, yeah, so they're not good. Now, mind you, I went into Morbius with zero like expectations because everyone had already shitted on it for so much that I was like, all right, this might be one of those that's so bad it's good. You know what I mean? It's not. It is bad. There's nowhere it's good. It's just kind of like it's just kind of cringe, you know? Because you just find yourself being like, wow, you know, like Jared Leto really thinks he's special. Because apparently, just like with the Joker role, he didn't break character, so he was like Dr. Morbius the entire time while he was on set, which, God, I wish you could just like Sony needed to pay that crew more to have to deal with that shit. You know what I mean? Like, oh my god. The movie was awful. It made no sense. It was just dumb. I don't know too much about the actual comic character Morbius, but I can definitely tell it's not that. You know.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
like even Matt Smith being in the movie, and Matt Smith is good. He was a fucking doctor. You know, like he was in Doctor Who and shit. But no, like sometimes he does appear in several bad movies though. Like he was like randomly in that Terminator Genesis movie that made me want to just off myself at 10 in the morning. Um, but yeah, Morbius is not good. Like, what was it? Paul fell asleep because we watched it together. Paul fell asleep about an hour or so, 45 minutes, an hour into the movie. And as he was falling asleep, he was going, it's bad, bro, it's bad. In his sleepy bear way. He's just like, it's so terrible. Just falling asleep on my couch, just screaming about how bad it is. And I watched the rest of it, of course. And then the next day I told him what he missed, and he's like, bro, it's awful. Like, just, it's bad. Um, but yeah, with Black Adam, again, I went into it with not really any expectations because we all know how DC is with their movies. You know, there are like some, like there's like 2 good movies. Um, but I was like, again, because I watched it kind of late after the release, and found out that they weren't going to continue on with it. and then realizing like, damn, even The Rock couldn't save your thing. You know what I mean? Because it's The Rock.
Hmm.
But apparently, I also heard, I don't know how true this is because you know how the internet is, but apparently I heard that because The Rock has like a clause in his contract that says like his characters never lose, that, you know, because he is supposed to be a bad guy and usually bad guys lose, is that apparently like DC slash Warner Brothers and stuff was gonna kind of like change the character of Black Adam just to kind of suit The Rock more, like, you know. But like, anyway, he couldn't help this movie because it was fucking awful. Like, like The Rock isn't a terrible actor. He's not a great actor, but this movie reminds me of like when he started acting. You know what I mean? Like when he was doing
Oh.
like Scorpion King, where he was just like, I'm given a line, and then I say it, and I look to the left, and I look to the right, and then you know what I mean? Like that thing he used to do, how, because it was very
Hmm.
much his wrestling acting, where you say, you make a statement, and you look at the audience, but like, you know, you're on camera, bro, so it looks weird. And in
Hmm.
this one, like he kind of was doing that too, where he was just kind of like, he didn't have many lines, and the lines he did have just was like, okay, you know what I mean? And it's like, and the movie had other characters, like it had Pierce Brosnan as what's his face, and for some reason they felt the need to kill off that character for some reason. Like, okay. Um then they had like I think two or three other characters. I don't remember what their powers were and why they were needed on the team. Although the Hawkman was there, he's a great actor. His Hawkman looked great, but he was just kind of there. You know, like no one was like, the movie wasn't a movie. It was just like, it's someone on Letterbox described it as you know, like the movie clips channels on YouTube. It's like Fandango
Hmm.
movie clips or something. It's like if you watch the movie via just the clips. Like that's what it felt like. Like nothing was cohesive, like scene to scene. It was just like this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. And after watching it, you're supposed to like piece together, like, oh, this is what the movie is, kind of thing. You get me? Like,
Like a little kid describing their day.
yeah. Yeah.
And then Tommy threw up, and then Tommy ate another apple, and then Mrs. Krabappel said that we all needed to do more homework, and then we left, and then I took a nap. Where am I?
Yeah.
Like that sort of
It's
thing.
it's literally that. Yeah.
Hmm.
So the next
Fun.
category is sci-fi slash action, and we have Moonfall, The Lair, and Fistful of Vengeance. Now, Moonfall.
I'm sorry. What's the title?
What?
Sorry, what was the title? Fistful of Vengeance?
Yes, a fistful, not a, but fistful of vengeance.
Like a dash of salt?
Yeah. So you have a fistful of vengeance, a dash of salt, a pinch of, you know, lime kind of thing. So Moonfall, that movie came out like early 2022, and I had forgotten it had come out because there were a few times in 2021 when I went to the movie theater and saw the trailer, and I forgot that it actually came out because in this day and age, especially, um, you know, with COVID and all that stuff, it's like movies just come out now. It is such a terrible fucking movie because it's, so I remember when I first saw the trailer, it was like the moon is gonna fall onto Earth. And you're like, okay, that's an
Right.
interesting concept. So that's the only thing that kind of piqued my interest for the movie is like, well, why? Why did it? You know, did like it just, I don't know, something about its orbit, did something knock into it? Is there like some kind of like super strong earth gravitational pull that pulls it? You know what I mean? What is it? Well, explained in the movie is that the moon is not real. As in, the moon is not made of, you know, like a, I guess you would say an organic material. It's not made of rocks. It's actually made out of metal, and it's a machine spaceship. Um, yeah, and that I don't even need to go any further into the movie. And also, this movie wants you to buy a Lexus vehicle as well. Um, yeah,
What?
you know the Lexus car.
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie also, besides it being like end of the world disaster movie, it also wanted you to buy a Lexus. Because at one point, towards the third act of the movie, where the moon is getting closer and closer, and then like gravity, people are just getting like pulled up, like 100 feet in the air and being dropped down, all that crazy shit. A Lexus vehicle has such good, handling that it just will not be pulled up into the sky like a semi truck will be, but a Lexus vehicle is swerving around all that shit and getting you out of trouble, you know?
I feel like a Honda would be like a Honda or a Toyota would be the one thing to survive out in space. Everything else gets crushed, and then it's just like this one little 1999 Honda just go like beep.
Yeah, it's just such a dumb movie, and like so many big names are attached to it too, and it's just like, oh my god, like Halle Berry, what are you doing, man?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see this movie. The only way I watched this movie was seeing all of your Instagram stories about it.
Oh yeah, when I was just going off about it.
Yeah.
Yes. When I was deleting my stories, I was like, oh, this is the night I watched Moonfall. I was like, oh yes, here we are, and I'm just screaming about Oh my god, it's such a bad fucking movie. Yeah. Halle Berry's in it. Patrick Wilson's in it. Like the one dude, the chubby guy from Game of Thrones is in it. That narrowed it down. What's his name? Michael Pena's in it. He's the Lexus dealership guy. Like, oh god, just it's so stupid. So yeah, the next movie is The Lair. I don't know how I something in the universe made me watch this movie. No one knew about it. It was hard for me to find this movie to watch this movie. But something I was like, oh hey, there's like some movie that came out this year and it's like gross monsters and people shooting at it. I'm like, yeah, this seems kind of interesting. And then I watched it and I was like, huh? So do you remember the movie Overlord?
I'm gonna Google that really quick.
Yeah, it's the movie where like a bunch of U.S. soldiers, and it's supposed to be taking place in like World War II, and they find like the Nazis did experiments on things, and people became like monstrous and all that stuff. You know?
I never saw this movie.
Oh,
That
okay.
sounds kind of interesting.
Yes. So people describe Overlord as Annihilation for straights, because Annihilation is that movie with like Natalie Portman and I think Tessa Thompson and Oscar Isaac's in it for a quick minute. Um, and yeah, so Annihilation is a great movie, and yes, Overlord is Annihilation for straights, and The Lair is Overlord on a high school drama club budget. That's the best way for me to describe that.
That's sad.
Yeah, it's really bad. I think I actually put that like I rarely ever like write a review on my letterbox, but I did. I had to put that in there, and I think someone liked it because I'm like, it's so awful. Um, yeah. So the next one is called Fistful of Vengeance, which is the movie to tie up. I think it was called Wu Assassins. It was like the kung fu show that was on Netflix. It had like Louis Tan in it, and the and initially I was like really excited to watch the show because I was like, oh, it's a kung fu show. We haven't had like one of those kind of shows in forever because all we have had recently is just a lot of white dudes doing really terrible martial arts and then saying that they're Asian. Iron Fist. I mean, he didn't say he was Asian, but you know what I mean.
Hmm.
And so I was like, okay, this one's got a lot of Asian actors. It's very Asian centric. Like, hey, cool, coming up Millhouse. But the show was kind of like, because it's like the fight scenes are great. I'm talking about the show. The fight scenes are great, but like the plot and like story to move it forward was just kind of very like they definitely, you can tell where they spent their money and time on more, which is the fight sequences. Um, so then obviously, the show didn't get renewed, but I guess they gave it like a movie to kind of tie everything up. And the movie was terrible. Like, the fight scenes were boring. How are fight scenes boring? Again, we're not thinking about Iron Fist, but like, the fight scenes weren't like, oh shit, oh, because when you're watching fight scenes, it's always like, oh, damn, what, oh, rewind. It was just kind of like, okay. So the next category is not horror, surprisingly. It's got two movies, The Bubble and Big Gold Brick. Now, The Bubble, yeah, I'll get to it. It's like now, The Bubble is a movie that was on Netflix, and it's very meta because it's a bunch of, again, it's a big cast of very well known actors. So it's very meta about, like, filming in a bubble, because it's very much about COVID, getting tested and all that stuff, and how they have to make this like insane, sci-fi movie or something while in a bubble. So again, the whole movie is very meta. Like, what's her name that was in who played Nebula is in it. Pedro Pascal is in it. Pedro Pascal is playing like a stereotypical like Spanish person too, because he's playing Pedro Pascal pretty much, and then when he's in the movie, he's like, "Hi, Dios mío," like being like very like, "I'm the guy with the accent," because it's being very meta about like Hollywood and how stereotypical it is, and then like again, it's like someone ordered food and broke the bubble. It's like one of those movies, and it's trying to be like, get it, we're making fun of ourselves because we don't even listen to our own rules, and it's like, yay.
I feel like the only movie that did the whole like commenting on COVID well was the Glass Onion movie, and that was
Oh,
just because it was a second, and then guess what? Not a problem anymore.
but yeah, the only reason I watched this movie is that I saw, I was like, oh, Pedro Pascal's in this movie and he wears like a cozy sweater, and I was like, I'm gonna watch this movie, and then I'm like, oh god, this is what happens when I like watch a movie because like of one singular attractive man who's in it for like a split second. And that leads us to the next movie, Big Gold Brick, which I watched it because the poster thing shows Oscar Isaac in it. I was like, ooh, I love me some Oscar Isaac, and he's in it for like 5 minutes. And I'm gonna let you know, I have no idea what happens in this movie. Like, this movie was pretty much like it's some dude recalling his life or something, and then, like, bless me, things play out, and Oscar Isaac is some guy in either his life or in some, I don't know. Oscar Isaac exists, and he's there, and he just kind of like says some lines, looks very hot as always because he's Oscar Isaac, and then that's it. And mind you, I had to wait like an hour and 45 minutes before I got me some Oscar Isaac. Got it again for 5-10 minutes, and then there was still the rest of the movie. Also, Megan Fox is in the movie. Again, I don't know really what happened in the movie. More just pretty much while I'm watching it, I kept thinking, what is going on? I don't know what's going on. Where is Oscar Isaac? The next category is called I Don't Remember.
Go
So,
on.
and and these are horror movies that I pretty much don't remember what happens in them. We have Choose or Die, Off Season, So Cold the River, Monstrous, and Room 203. Choose or Die, it's something that was on Netflix. That's all I remember. But yeah.
Did you write anything down?
No, I looked it up. I didn't do a review. I didn't even do like an Instagram story scream about it. Oh, Choose or Die. In pursuit of an unclaimed $125,000 prize, a broke college dropout decides to play an obscure 1980s survival computer game, but the game curses her, and she's faced with dangerous choices and reality warping challenges. After a series of unexpectedly terrifying moments, she realizes she's no longer playing for the money, but for her life. Yep, I still don't remember. Robert Englund is in the movie. Don't even remember he was in it. Like, okay.
That's also not very much money, not to be like a depressing millennial, but
Yeah, that's not a lot
all
of money.
that pay. Yeah.
I mean, when I graduated school, I was owing more than that. So, yeah. But yes, choose or die. I don't know. They chose to die, I'm guessing. Yeah. Um so there's that one. Then yeah, off season. I kind of remember what happens in off season, which all it is literally on and off season. This woman drives to like some fucking island because she was like called there, And then people are like, what are you doing here? No one comes to this part during this time of year. Again, off season. And then, of course, there's a storm. And then, oh, I got to get back. And they're like, oh, no, there's a storm. You can't get, like, the ferry won't be back until, it's one of those kind of things. And she gets stuck on the island. And then, who fucking knows?
And then she has to sleep on an uncomfortable cot for 3 days.
Like something like that, yeah. And then she ends up dying there, kind of stuff. It's like I know, like I don't remember exactly what happens, but I know at one point she finds out that like the thing or like the letter or something that called her to the island, that wasn't true. It was the act of whatever supernatural thing that called her there, like under false pretenses, and she thought it was like a blah blah blah. And pretty much like something like either she used to live there and then she escaped there and then she was drawn back in. Pretty much she was sent there to die. So yeah.
Okay.
Then So Cold the River, let's see, what's it? So Cold the River, I think it was like was it a documentary filmmaker's research on a town's mysterious benefactor unearths an unexplained evil while staying at a local resort. Yeah, just I can't tell you what happens in it. I think the people were British in the movie, or not. I don't know. I just remember being like, "Ha!" That was it.
Have you ever considered just making up plots for these? Just getting a random title and then just reviewing it and then just making it up and then just seeing how convincing it is. You could even get like random graphics from, if you just wanted to just have a little fun with it and you had some spare time, and just edit in these like non-trademark things in there and just try and make your own film about it and just be like, yeah, and then the octopus went to the bank.
Right. Just like what's it called? Ad lib, like yeah, the Mad Lib stuff. Yeah. Probably, yeah. I know. I wish I had the time to do all that stuff on top of the other 1,000 other things I do. Believe me. I would love to make up fake movies while I watch the bad ones. Oh my god. But yeah, then after that is Monstrous. All I remember is that Christina Ricci is in the movie, and it's like really weird. Like, okay, so it's Christina Ricci. Now I'm starting to remember a little bit. Like in her perspective, everything looks kind of like cutesy 1950s. Like she has this cute 1950s car, but but actually in reality, it's obviously current times, and her car is like run down and fucked up. But that's all I remember. Is that all? Like once you learn that like it's not that, what is in her head is obviously not reality. You're like, oh, okay, and then that's all I remember. Laura, traumatized by an abusive relationship, runs away from her former husband with her 7-year-old son Cody. But in their new idyllic and remote sanctuary, they find they have another bigger and more terrifying monster to deal with. I think like the son doesn't actually exist or something. Like it's revealed in the end that like he's dead the entire time. She's talking to nobody. I think so, because I think it was like every time like the son, quote unquote, is like, I want to go outside and meet the kids, and she's always like, no, you can't go out there, which you kind of guessed at like pretty early on, especially once it's revealed that like the prim and proper 1950s kind of look is not actually real. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, thanks for revealing your movie 10 minutes in or whatever, how long it was, you know? Yeah, and then the last one is Room 203, which the only thing I remember about that is like these two girls move into an apartment, I think in New York or somewhere, and of course it's like a shitty apartment. One room, the Room 203, that the main girl is in. There's like a hole in the wall or something, and then spirits are coming out of that hole. It's kind of weird, because then like everyone gets okay, this is gonna sound nasty, but everyone seems to be way too curious about the hole in the wall, and they keep sticking their arms in the hole. There you go, I said that. Yeah. It's like, yeah, there's like pretty much a glory hole in the wall, and everyone's very curious about what is in it. Instead of just being like, yeah, we're just gonna put a cabinet in front of that or something. They're like, what's this? And then it's like, ghosts. Huh?
I'm guessing it was no like people of color in the film or
Yeah, no.
anyone.
Right.
Okay.
I love when movies are and stuff are like this takes place in New York and you see no like diversity and you're like, huh? You know? Kind of like Friends or Sex in the City. You're like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is New York. New York without people of color. The final category, and this has like literally all the other movies. The category is literally called stupid because every movie is fucking stupid. We have Uma, Those Who Walk Away, They Them, Requiem for a Scream, Don't Kill Me, Mid Century, Gone in the Night, Spirit Halloween. Now,
That's most films in any of these categories.
mm-hmm, it is.
Okay. Go on.
So Uma is so Sandra Oh is in this one, and it's like it's like the horror version of kind of like Turning Red and Everything Everywhere All at Once, but not done well. It's very much a like kind of immigrant kind of thing because again, Uma that's Korean for mom and all that stuff, and it's very much like the haunting of like the culture that you come from being in America. The idea of this movie, I was like, oh shit, and it's Sandra Oh and she's really good. I was like, okay, but it's not good. Like it's just like because how a lot of people like they just feel like, well, horror movies are stupid because it's very cheap. This movie kind of did that. It kind of just like took something that could have been like either like a haunting kind of thing about uh it doesn't really have like the full generational trauma thing, but pretty much that kind of pretty much is. Like it could have done like that, like I said, like Everything Everywhere All at Once and Turning Red, like the generational trauma. Oh, it's called Mom, and like the haunting of it. It could have been really like psychological. You know what I mean? Because it is psychological. It could have been very much that like metaphors and similes and all that stuff in this movie, but it wasn't that. It was just kind of like ooh, spooky, and it's like,
Oh,
and the movie's
that's disappointing.
also the movie's like 83 minutes long.
Oh.
Yeah. I, I'm gonna let you know there are times where I've sat through quote unquote short movies and they felt like forever, like those shitty Christmas comedies. Those were definitely like they were like an hour long. And one of them, I think the Amityville one, I think was 45 minutes long, and it was the longest 45 minutes of my goddamn life. You know, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah. After that is Those Who Walk Away, and this movie is like the story was so dumb, but the way how they filmed it was like way too ambitious for like anything. So this whole movie was done in like a singular shot kind of thing, like Birdman, Russian Ark, that kind of stuff. The hallway scene in Old Boy, that kind of thing, where it's one singular shot. That's great. That's very ambitious of you. But also when you have like really terrible actors, like it doesn't work because
Oh.
sometimes editing, literally sometimes editing helps with that. And it stars the dude, he was one of the wolf boys in Twilight, who his government name is Boo Boo, you know. He plays the main character and it's like pretty much like all I remember is that he goes on a date with a girl and then this girl tries to kill him. And it's like that's pretty much the movie. And the movie is so low budgeted that at one point, again, this whole movie is one shot, one singular shot. So they'll have dialogue and they're walking to like a movie theater, and you're just watching them walk to the movie theater while having just terrible small talk. You know what I mean? And really, like, this movie's like 90 something minutes long, and it could have been like a 20-minute short, and it probably would have been a lot better. Like, still doing the single shot thing, um, and so they're walking to the movie theater, and then like they didn't go in the movie theater. And the movie theater marquee had like a good movie, and I always say don't put a good movie inside a bad movie. And the movie was so low budget that they couldn't even show a clip of the good movie and the bad movie thing that usually happens. And then they walk and da da da, and they end up getting into a car. And they drive to like this house out somewhere, and they're like, "Oh, what's this house?" or something. I don't know. And then, like, pretty much, like I said, this movie's like 90 minutes long. And the reason why the movie is 90 minutes long is because the last 10 minutes is just a shot of the house that he was almost killed in, just on fire. And it doesn't, like, the movie doesn't, like, resolve itself. Like, it's just like, oh, we're going on a date. Okay, well, we're doing some stuff. Who cares? Like, literally, who cares? We get to this house, blah blah blah. Then you're finding out, wait, I went on this pretty much blind date or dating app date with this person to this house that's in the middle of nowhere, and they try to kill me. Blah blah blah. Stuff happens. Now it's on fire, and then you just leave the camera, like you leave the shot, and the camera just lingers on the house on fire, and then it just like credits, and it's like what? So it's like, are they like each? Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Anyway, so the next one, I kind of bitched to you about this a little bit. The movie called They Them, which is like the horror movie that was on Peacock. It stars freaking Kevin Bacon, and it's about kind of like a gay conversion camp. And the thing is, they could have done this so well. Of like, they could have made the horrors of what gay conversion is. You know what I mean? They could have been like the horrors of that, and it could have been really done well. But this was just like this movie called me all the slurs. You know what I mean? Like they had like actual like trans like actors there, possibly non-binary actors as well, other queer, like they had queer people in it playing queer people, but they just felt like just when you have that many queer people in a horror film, they're all gonna end up dying, because none of us stay alive in any of these movies. It's like what like in every like police drama, oh, another trans woman is dead, that kind of thing. Like, was it Willem played that for a while in a lot of the shows? Like, he did, like, CSI and, like, Nip Tuck, and he always played, like, the dead T-slur kind of thing, like, I mean, hey, it made him money and all that stuff, but, after a while, it's just like, hey, let's not do this anymore. I mean, he's obviously gotten to big and better things, but yeah, so, like, the movie was just so fucking dumb, because, like I said, it just pretty much called us every, you know, like slur under the fucking universe. And then I also felt a little personally offended because there was a character there that looked like me. It was an Asian, most likely female character with colored haircut very similar to mine, but instead of green, it was red. And she was very masked. And I was like, excuse me?
I'm just gonna do image search. Oh, I think I see them.
Yeah, you'll just see like a masked Asian with red hair. Yeah,
Right.
it's like so. There's me. So I'm literally in the movie. Uh,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
That's not uncomfortable.
yeah. I'm watching it. I'm like, excuse me. Could you not do that, please? Because
And
also,
then the
uh,
character brings out all their fetuses, just it's like, yeah, I've just felt really inspired lately.
oh my god.
Also, I hate the government.
Oh my god, yes. It was just done so poorly, and then it was like the quote unquote reveal of who was killing wasn't even a reveal. It was kind of like, huh, who? Okay.
It was the trees.
That would probably be better, but it was just like it was revealed, and you're like, oh. It's like I sat through it, so then every other queer person doesn't have to suffer through it. So you're welcome. You know. Um, Oh my god, this next movie. Jesus Christ. This one I had to watch my review because I was like, I have no idea. I gave it half a star. It's called Don't Kill Me. And you know what happens? The person gets killed. Um
Yeah.
the movie's called Don't Kill Me and the person gets killed within like the first 5 minutes. Like it's so stupid. It's like this couple, I think they're not American. Um they do some drugs where they do like they drop it in their eyes, and then it's like black goo dripping out of their eyes, and then like they end up dying, but then the girl comes back as a zombie, and then turns out the guy wasn't actually dead. He purposely um got the girl to do the drug to kill her because it's a zombie movie actually, and then he's a zombie hunter, from what I remember, kind of, sort of, not really. Anyway, I watched my review of it, and I was just like, oh man, this is like, I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, not that this whole time we were talking isn't this, but like, sometimes when I'm describing a movie to you and it just sounds like babblings of a crazy person. Like, again, if you were at Port Authority and you just heard a crazy person just start screaming these things, but instead this is an actual plot to a movie, yeah, that was my review for this movie. Yeah. This was also on Netflix.
Okay, yeah, I see that now. So I am looking up, little thumbnails from the movie and things like that.
Yes.
Do his eyebrows get a credit?
No, but also, what was it like? Someone, oh my god, someone on Letterbox. God, his eyebrows are a lot. What was the someone on Letterbox said, the guy looks like the child of Robert Pattinson and David Dasmalkian, the guy who played the polka dot guy in the new Suicide Squad movie.
Oh, you're right.
Right? Robert Pattinson, him. Imagine if they had a love child, right? Doesn't he look like?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. The next movie is called Mid-Century, and it's a movie that takes place in a mid-century home, and it's it's a it's a vacation rental, and then someone tries to like kill them in it. So this is like what in the past like what 3 4 years. This is like the third movie that's like this. It's pretty much like a oh no your Airbnb wants to kill you. It's crazy.
But it's called mid-century, so I'm guessing mid-century modern is just
It's the house that they rent is a mid-century home.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's just so
okay, I just don't get naming something after the style of the house, like unless it's making a comment on the era or something. Like
yeah.
you wouldn't call a movie College Dorm.
That'd be a little too on the nose, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember what else happens in the movie. It's just like, oh, death and imminent doom. I'm bored, you know.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I skipped Requiem for a Scream. My bad. Because I was like, shit, I went straight to Don't Kill Me. Okay, let's go to Requiem for a Scream. It's an original horror movie that was on Tubi, so you know it definitely was not good. Netflix horror is bad, let alone a Tubi.
They ripped off the name Requiem for a Dream.
Yes, it's called Requiem for a Scream, and I don't remember. So the thing here says a sadistic killer sets his sights on a group of friends partying in an abandoned lake house, determined to make their murders his symphony. Now, that is not helping anything. It's like that. Just like, what does that mean? That's like every horror film, like big budget, small budget. All I remember is that the entire time I was just like bored out of my goddamn mind. 81 minutes this movie was. Bored out of my mind.
I feel like the descriptor for this movie should instead be guy named Dale decides to blow off some steam. Oh, thank God. The cabin is filled with anonymous teens this weekend. I needed this.
Oh god,
And then
I gotta watch this movie now. Yeah. Because all I saw was like shots of the killer, and I was like, what movie is this? And I was like, oh shit, it came out this year. Like, alright, I'll put it on my list of things to watch for this year. And I was like, oh, where can I see it? Do I have to rent it? I'm like, oh, on Tubi. Because there's tons of shit on Tubi. I go on Tubi, I'm like, oh, it's a Tubi original. I'm like, oh, God. So the next movie is Gone in the Night, and it has Winona Ryder in it. And then, like, the movie is pretty much exactly what you think it is. It's Winona Ryder, obviously, she's an older woman. She's dating a younger guy, and then they go to, like, some, again, like a rental.
mm-hmm.
And then there's a couple there already. It's kind of like almost like Barbarian, like that movie Barbarian, where like the woman showed up and like freaking Bill Skarsgård's there. It's like, oh, I guess we booked the same thing on the same day. How did we do that? But instead of it being like in the middle of like Detroit or somewhere weird, this is like a cabin in the woods kind of shit. And then they're like, no, come on over, da da da. And then like the next day, the boyfriend that she's dating is missing, and then like the couple that's there is like gaslighting her and all that stuff, which is kind of awful because just watching her lose her damn mind is obviously not good. But then
Mm-hmm.
but then there's like a reveal of like the boyfriend knew the couple in that cabin to begin with. Like the movie did the like rewind back to the that scene when they were there, but from a different perspective. Shit, you know. So they were like that he brought her there to like sacrifice her or something. Like it was like he was on purpose, quote unquote, to disappear so they can gaslight her. So then while she's losing her shit, if even if she does go to the authorities, you know what I mean, like no one will believe her, kind of stuff. And so like they brought her there to like kill her, and then like all this, it's just dumb. It's just like it's like you figured out what the movie was gonna be, and then when the quote unquote reveal of it being like, well, they were fucking with her, it's like you just knew it was coming, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why it was called stupid. Yeah. Then the final movie is the Spirit Halloween. Spirit Halloween, the Soar, the movie. I mean, that's not the title. It's not like High School Musical, the series. Jesus fucking Christ. God. Anyway, Spirit Halloween, the movie. And yeah, it's a whole movie filmed inside a Spirit Halloween store. Um, Pretty much what it is, it's a bunch of stupid middle schoolers and something about ghosts and spirits or something. They go inside the Spirit of Halloween store and then stuff. I don't know. That's all I remember. It's just like middle schoolers being little shit middle schoolers like they would, and then Spirit of Halloween store is there, and then they film inside of it, and then the movie ends, and then I go, huh? Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Mm.
yep.
And then those kids never came back, and the parents were like,
Oh
"Well,
well. I guess we could finally go to Aruba, honey. You know.
oh, thank God we had no money for college."
Yeah, because of your father's coke habit. So that was the worst movies of 2022. If you haven't seen the best of one, that's before this, or however one I put before. However, YouTube works nowadays because things move to other stuff. Anyway, so I'm gonna start watching movies that are released this year, probably soon, and then I'll just, you know, I was about to say that I'll just die. I was gonna say something horrible, but I was like, I can't do that.
Don't worry, Joe. You'll just be disappointed
Yeah.
again.
According to my letterbox, I have watched over 4,000 movies in my lifetime.
You've studied your craft.
Yeah. And yet people want to tell me, no, you gotta watch the second Avatar movie. Do I? Like I said, if I made money, if someone would pay me money to go see it, I will. But I'm not making money off of this shit. So I'm not gonna see it. I'll end up seeing it one of these days, probably 10 years from now or something. But I'm not watching it now, you know?